So I picked up the 16 1.4 last year when I found myself getting more and more into video. When I was filming, I'd find myself always shooting at the wider end of my zoom lenses. So this 16 1.4 felt like a natural fit, and after using this lens for about 12 months at this point, I don't regret buying it one bit. Now it's 16mm, so that's 24mm full frame. It's weather sealed and has a manual focus ring. Also, at the end of this episode, I've included a short cinematic piece, both with video and photos, so you can get a good idea of what type of video and photo you can capture with this lens. So firstly, when it comes to photography, the 16mm focal length can actually be quite challenging, especially if you're doing street photography. Now, it's not to say you can't do street photography with this lens. I've done a ton of photography with it and I've really enjoyed using it here in London. Now, when you're shooting with this lens, because it's so wide, you're getting much more in frame. So you have to be more wary of who's in frame, how many subjects are in frame, the balance of the composition. There's many more considerations when you're shooting with a wider lens compared to, say, a 35 or a 50mm lens. When it comes to video, the 16 1.4 is 1, a great option, and 2, really versatile. Now, in my own case, when it comes to video, I seem to prefer shooting at wider focal lengths than I do when it comes to photography. As I said in the intro, this is a full frame equivalent of 24mm. And lots of directors shoot their films at 24mm primarily. Another cool feature of this 16 1.4 is how close you can get to your subject. So I think officially it's 15 centimeters from the sensor to the subject. But in practice, it pretty much means you can get this lens right up against your subject and still focus. And this allows you to get creative in ways you can't with most other Fujifilm lenses. As with pretty much all the Fujifilm lenses I've used to date, I have no complaints when it comes to image quality. I do believe the video and photos I get from the 16 1.4 are better than the images I get at 16mm with my 16 to 55mm zoom lens. Now that's to be expected because a zoom lens, you just have, you're covering a much wider focal distance, so there are going to be compromises. But I've been really impressed with both the videos and photos I've taken with the 16 1.4, so no complaints in that department at all. Furthermore, even wide open at 1.4, the images look great, both video and photography, so no worries shooting wide open with this lens. Just to double down on the f1.4 aperture, it's really useful on wider lenses to have a faster aperture, because the wider the lens gets, the harder it becomes to separate your subject from the background. But with this 16 1.4, both with its fast aperture and the ability to focus really closely to your subject, you can really create that separation between the background and your foreground subject. And that just allows you to get a bit more creative with this lens and just makes it more fun to use. When it comes to autofocusing, this 16 1.4 has been one of Fujifilm's faster ones for me. Even when shooting at nighttime, it's accurate, it's fast. But one of my favorite things about this lens is the manual focus ring. It's one of the few Fujifilm lenses which has this, and it makes manual focusing really easy and fun to use. A couple final points when it comes to the 16 1.4. It feels great in the hand. It's actually pretty lightweight and small considering it's a 1.4 lens, and it's weather sealed. I've used it in the rain here in London multiple times, absolutely no problems. As I said at the top of this episode, I've really enjoyed using this lens, and if you're looking for a wide angle lens, you really can't go wrong here. It costs around £450 second hand. When it comes to lenses, I actually always go for second-hand lenses. I really don't see the point of buying new lenses. You can save yourself so much money by going second-hand. And yeah, value for money, I think it's well worth the price, especially at $450. If you're into video, this is a great option. Landscape photography, architectural photography, or if you're doing professional work indoors and you need a faster lens, again, 16-2.8 is a great option. But if you have any questions about this lens, just drop them down below and I will get back to you. Now after this, there will be a short cinematic piece where there'll be video and photos, and there you can get a better idea of what type of photos and videos you can capture using this lens.